call this beat Will Smith, cause it slaps hard. Hear it not when I pull up on your boulevard.
This is a guy that really rushed into a relationship too fast. He says, the profile title is Girlfriend 22 Dumped Me 23 because she's, quote, not ready for a relationship. And he says, I met a great girl on Tinder in June. We dated for a bit, and soon it became more serious around the end of July - early August, which we were both happy about. So this must have been a thing that I saw like from like early on or later last year. But anyway, so to recap, met her in June, dated in July, and then August, it was a bit more serious. Okay. He says this past week, she hasn't been herself and contact wasn't the way it had normally been, but I put that down to her suffering with depression and anxiety and made sure she knew that I was there for her if she needed to talk. All right. So again, I've done shows about this. I will say this because I got a little bit of pushback. So I'll say this. If you are dating somebody that has depression and anxiety, make sure they're doing all the things. Make sure they're doing all the therapy, taking all the meds they need to take, because I ultimately believe that people need to be able to find people. Everybody has the right to find somebody. Much in the same way I feel about single moms. Not that you can't date them. It's just there's more that comes with that. There'll be more baggage, more things to have to maneuver. If you are a person that can handle that, kudos to you, but don't be surprised by the moves they make. But that said, I do not think that her depression and anxiety is making her suddenly see this guy less. I think a lot of guys feel like, oh, because this woman has BP or because this is that, that's what's happening. And I can tell you, not that I've dated a lot of girls that have had these situations, but I can tell you that if you're doing the right things in the dating process, even amongst them having these things, you'll be the person that they're going to better alleviate those symptoms that they're feeling. If that's not happening, it's because she's probably starting to lose interest or you're doing things that are causing her to question her like for you. Anyway, he says on Tuesday, she said she wanted to just be friends and that she, quote, thought she was ready for a relationship, but she wasn't, end quote, after what turns out to be a very bad breakup and relationship with her last boyfriend. I've been through a bad breakup as well as having a bad relationship with my last girlfriend, so I felt that I could try and help her get through this, but she said she just needs time. All right. First off, you are not Captain Save-'em. Take the cape off. Secondly, this whole thing about that women use as an excuse that men put out there as an excuse, which they say, oh, well, she must be acting this way because she went through a bad breakup and had a bad relationship. She doesn't trust men. Again, I've dated women that were in previously bad relationships and they get to me. And because I know how to pace out the dating process, I don't give them any pressure to make it a relationship. Therefore, there's nothing for them to think about, like in terms of, am I trying to force them to call themselves my girlfriend? I'm not, but it allows me to apply patience. It allows them to come to the thought process on their own that they're actually ready for a relationship with me and that they now are making the decision to want me as the boyfriend, at which point I'm still not asking them to even be the girlfriend, at which point they're wanting to come to me and say, hey, so what are me? Because they're in their head thinking, well, is this guy using me for sex? Does he actually want to date me? Does he like me? Does he not? Like, what's going on? And I'm thinking these things, but I'm not sure where he stands. What does this mean? Could it mean that I actually have feelings for him and that I'm now ready for it? And so I let them come to the conclusion that they're now ready for a relationship with me to where they can come ask me all the questions. Most of you guys aren't doing that. Most of you guys are like, well, we saw each other for like 2 weeks or 2 months, and now she get all flaky. And like, and so anytime I see this kind of thing, what it says to me is that the guy was the one that asked for the relationship. Because if you are a guy that never asked a woman for a relationship, all you're going to find is that women that like you and that have dated you long enough are going to come to you asking for a relationship. It's our job as guys to try to seek out the physical hookup from them. It is their job to come to us and see if we're ready for a relationship. At least that's how it's worked the best for me. Your situation may vary, but between the guys that I've coached and have told them the same thing, and they've backed off from the woman they were trying to pursue. And then the results they've gotten is like, yeah, I got patient and backed off. And then she came to me and like wanted to do all the things, wanted to ask about the relationship. I just know based on results that that's typically what happens, because our pacing for wanting to be in a relationship is surprisingly a lot faster than women's. Like after 2 or 3 good dates, we're like, I know all the things. I want to be with her now. And then we start trying to push our agenda. And again, this doesn't take into account how women process things in the dating process and what they need to actually happen, what they need to feel before they have a commitment. That's important. They need to feel ready. So while you're thinking it's been 2 months of dating, why isn't she ready? She's still possibly analyzing you. She's still maybe getting over that. Hey, maybe she is getting over that ex. Fine. You're dating a woman that just got out of something. It's even more apparent that you don't pressure this, because all she's going to think is, he's trying to rush me into a new relationship. Why is he trying to rush me? I just got out of something and I'm still trying to question what happened over there. She could be thinking, I need to make sure that I'm the right person, that I have the right radar on for this new guy before I completely dive into being in a relationship. So you can't come to her saying, hey, so we've been there for like 2 months, like relationship, what's going on? But again, I have found for women that have just got out of a relationship, if you are patient and you're just like, hey, if she comes to you and says, hey, so just, like we're dating and all, but I don't want to rush into anything. Your response would always be, you know what? I'm going to have a good time, go on a few dates and just, and just be the best person I can be. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to pressure nothing. If it ends up something, fantastic. But for right now, I just want to take it one step at a time and just have a good time. And then you literally go on these dates, you show her a good time. That's it. You're not bringing up heavy subjects. You're not bringing up what are we's, how do you feel about me's, what do you think about me's, none of that. Because confident men don't do that. Confident men, if you're a confident guy in the dating process, you don't have to ask any of these questions because you're going to just assume you're doing a good job. And you'll know that because when you ask her on dates, she's saying yes to dates. She's not flaking. She's hooking up with you. She's making out with you. She's cooking dinners for you. All these things should let you know in the process, I'm doing a darn good job. And that confidence is going to make her even more attracted to where she's going to want to be in your world and she's going to want to ask to make sure that nobody else has you. So this guy around here, oh, I want a relationship. I need a relationship. Don't chase a relationship, guys. Stop chasing relationships. You focus on showing her the best time possible, and that's going to make her inevitably want a relationship with you. It's really that simple because she's not going to come across guys that are showing her as good of a time as you are. So you don't need to pressure yourself and pressure her, more importantly, into making this have to be a relationship. Anyway, he says, let's see, I've been to breakup, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so he says, I have a few questions about all this. First, I'm just unsure of how I should act. You should act indifferent to the outcome. You should act like a guy that knows that he can get other women. Now, if you're not that guy, this is why during the dating process, you should be continuing to hit up other women because on the off chance this doesn't work out, you don't care. You have other women that are going to go out on a date with you. But more importantly, because I know some of you guys are like, but I don't want to be the guy that's dating 3 or 4 women. But you do this early on. Like I said, this guy is 23 years old. He needs to get into the practice of recognizing that if this doesn't work out, there are other women out there. The easiest way to do that is to actually do that. Like you're dating one girl, but you're dating 3 or 4 other women just in the dating process, not in the relationship part, right? And then so what happens over time is you'll get in your head that, wait, if this girl doesn't work out, there's other ones out there. So then you can decide on your own accord to just date one woman at a time, but you'll still give off the vibe of a guy that knows if this doesn't work out, there's others out there. And that vibe needs to be there so you don't look so desperate because women don't want to date desperate guys. Women want to date guys that feel as though they can get other women. Sorry, I found it to be true in my own dating life. Your results may vary, but I found because women, that indicates to women that you know how to take care of women. And that implies to her, you'll know how to take care of her also. Women that don't get the feeling that you know how to actually take care of women aren't going to want to date you because it threatens their safety. Anyway, he says, should I wait for her or should I try and move on? I feel just be friends is a clear sign of her wanting to close the door. But the next day, her saying about, quote, needing time has kind of given me false hope. The answer might be obvious, but I'm quite shocked by how things have changed because late last week, we were talking about meeting each other's friends, which is a good sign. No, it is not. Because again, this goes back to what I said about the previous guy. Just because she's bringing up the idea of doing something doesn't mean it's good for the dating process. And more importantly, one, you were doing future speak. We don't talk future anything unless it's like you're calling up and saying, hey, let's go on a date this Friday. But if you're in the dating process like 1 or 2 months in, you're not trying to talk about, yes, when we become a couple, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, or we're gonna meet each other's friends, this and that. Like, no future speak. You let her do future speak. You don't, because again, you doing future speak is going to indicate to her that you're already thinking about future, which indicates you're already there with your feelings for her. And if she's not there, you're out. And then also the thing where he says, needing times, give false hope. Talking about, the other thing about the friends thing is that, again, during the first 3 months of dating, it should just be you and her. So there should be no talk or any semblance of, hey, let's go meet each other's friends, because you still need to get to know her. You need to make sure that her feelings are solidified for you before you go on this whole thing of like, oh, now we'll bring other people in. Because I'm telling you guys, In those first 2 or 3 months of dating, you meeting her friends, you have a higher probability of her friends making some kind of observation about you or saying something that's not true or doing whatever to sabotage this thing. And a lot of women have single girlfriends that will try to sabotage her and her dating situation so that way she can remain single with them. It's a savage world out there in the world of women. I don't envy it at all because dudes be like, I'll go with a couple of dudes and dudes be like, yeah, go off, have a fun time, or actively try to help you get with the girl in the club. Women, I find, tend to be the opposite, and I'm sure there's like safety reasons behind that, but also there's a lot of jealousy reasons. So you don't want to go anywhere near her friends until you know for sure that she like is completely all about you, and nothing at that because at that point, even if friends say something about you, it's not going to be as easy of a break for her to like take their judgment versus what she's experienced with you as it will be if you do that early on. So no, it's not a good sign. I mean, it's great. It's a great sign in the sense that it shows that where her thought process is in terms of like her seeing you potentially in her life long term, but that doesn't mean you actually fall for the bait, you know? He says, after talking with my friend yesterday, I felt that I had sorted through some things in terms of no longer worrying that maybe I should have done more to try and save the relationship and was hoping to maybe be starting today to heal, but today I just feel restless. He says, finally, because the relationship was so short, so listen, 2 months total of knowing each other and 2 official weeks of actually being a couple. So a month and a half, 6 weeks. That's all the time they dated before they decided, or before they got into a couple of them. What my guess is at that point, he probably asked her to be the girlfriend because let's face it, guys, we get a lot of bad training. Most of you guys out there have been based on watching TV and movies and hearing R&B songs, think that in order for her to be in a relationship, I need to be the one to ask her because otherwise, how will we get into a relationship? And so he went up to her, hey, so we've been dating for a while. It's been really great. So can we be in a relationship? And most women being women, they're friendly and don't want to hurt your feelings. And this girl's like, well, we've been dating for a while, so I should say yes. And they'll say yes, not knowing that that's not actually the answer that's in their best interest. But what's the other end? Is if they say, well, no, not yet, the guy's going to think, well, now she doesn't like me. What's going on? And again, sometimes women have a hard time verbalizing what these things are. What she'd actually be trying to say is, look, I'm still getting to know you, so I want to still take my time to get to know you. This doesn't mean that at some point down the line, I won't want a relationship, but for right now, I'm not there. Most women don't know how to have that conversation. So instead, they just say, yeah. And then the guy starts seeing her too much or texting her too much. And the next thing you know, she's like, I'm out of here. And he doesn't know what's going on. And it's because, again, you as the guy have to know how the dating process works. Like I'll go back to the guy earlier about how women don't romance men. It's like you have to always have a plan. You need to be the one that has a thought out plan for how your dating cycle is going to go. Based on my dating cycle, I found it's like across the board, 2 or 3 months of dating will usually get your relationship. So that's what I've stuck to throughout my dating life. And it has worked tremendously. All right. So for this guy, he said 6 weeks. That is not enough. The thing about like baking a cake, that is not enough time to bake a full cake, right? If you put it, if the recipe says bake a cake for 30 minutes, you take it out at 15 minutes, guess what? You got kind of a cake, but you also got something that's going to fall flat. This is how relationships fall flat. A month and a half of dating, let's get a relationship. And now she wants to just be friends. Anyway, 2 months total of knowing each other and 2 official weeks of actually being a couple. I'm not sure how long I should take before moving on. Right now, I almost feel like I don't want to risk upsetting my ex by moving on too soon in case she gets in touch and says that she's made a mistake. And he says, I'm not really expecting her to do that. So guys, I need you to do this. I need you to get over how your ex is going to feel if after she dumps you, you start dating somebody right away. For one, it was 6 weeks of dating and 2 months of 2 weeks of a relationship. That's not anything. But more importantly is that you do not owe her an explanation of how fast it takes you to move on. Hey, at this point, I'm very indifferent to stuff. So it's not that like if I break with somebody, it's not that I'm not hurt about it or that it might not take me a couple months to get over it. But it's also like I don't feel like I owe that other person because one, if it's a breakup, I'm not trying to see them again anyway, and I owe them nothing. And number two, if they happen to come across me and find out, oh my God, you dated somebody else, well, they dumped me. Why do I care how they feel about me dating somebody else now? It doesn't matter. But what I have also found too is that you being able to move on to somebody else actually gives off the idea that you're not as needy of a person as maybe she thought you were. And sometimes women just need to either experience or be able to see with their own eyes that you're not the needy guy that they thought you were to want you back. Because understand, needy behavior is a very dangerous thing for a guy to have and for a woman to feel from you, because that basically threatens their safety, because needy guys are desperate guys, and desperate guys are willing to do anything to get this girl. And they see it as that. And if he's that desperate, then if I get with somebody else, he's going to possibly harm that person, or he's going to be stalking me at work, all these other various things, right? So that behavior is not becoming of guys. So back to this guy, at the point that she was like, I thought I was ready for a relationship. For one, it's not that she wasn't ready for a relationship, it's that he wasn't doing the things that made her feel comfortable in the relationship that he was currently displaying to her, which was probably to hit her up all the time and have all these other things, But more importantly is that you need to show her that that's not you. And up to this point, he hasn't done that. He hasn't been able to show her that he's not desperate and needy, because even as he's coming off now, oh my God, her feelings this and that. But like him being able to step away and be able to be with somebody else, if she comes across that, she'll know for sure that, oh crap, I messed up. I thought that I was dating this guy that was desperate for me, and turns out that wasn't the case at all. So I say to you guys, stop worrying about these women's feelings. Like, if you are able to see somebody else, if you have the opportunity to do that, don't care about what your ex thinks. She's not the picture. You can go date them, hook up with them, whatever, because I don't want you to get stuck in this thing of like, well, I got to be holding off and wait for her to come back because she might come back to me. There's no telling that's going to actually happen. But more importantly, you don't need to be waiting around for that, because you're putting yourself basically in a holding cell for this person's feelings. Oh, what if they come back to me? Meanwhile, she's off dating other dudes and talking to other people, and she ain't caring about you. She could go out to the club tonight with her girlfriends and some dude hit her up and be whatever. And she's not going to be thinking, I want to hook up with this guy, but my ex-boyfriend, she ain't going to care. So you don't need to care for her feelings for you when that's happening either. All right.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high